Good morning. Lots of excitement in the sanctuary today. Can't imagine why. Go Dodgers. Good morning and welcome to Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena. Welcome to all members, friends, and guests. My name is Catherine Blue Holmes, and I serve on your board of trustees. I am also today happy to serve as your worship associate. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community of faith connected by love, spirit, and service. We acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. We acknowledge our harmful colonial histories and commit to decolonizing our own practices, to learning new ways of being in community, with each other, and with the land itself. Today's service is led by the Reverend Dr. Omega Burkhart. Music is led today by Dr. Zenaida Robles, with Rels Lang, the Neighborhood Choir, and soloist Sonia Ohan. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. Families with young children are always welcome in the sanctuary, and there is an additional play area for the very youngest in our narthex. For adults and older youth who don't need assistance, there is a quiet crafting table close to the organ. I have 3 announcements today. First is after the service today here in the sanctuary, we'll hold a special discussion around the solar project at Neighborhood Church, hosted by the collaborative leadership team composed of the board, the executive director, and our senior minister. Also today after the service, join the First Sunday Drop-In Chalice Circle for a special discussion and a ritual for the altar in the house for Dia de los Muertos. In 2 weeks, on December 16th, plan on attending the mid-year congregational meeting. More information, including an agenda, will be in the newsletter this week. Up next is May Colcord with information about next week's all-community art gathering. May, there you are.
Good morning. The Truth and Reconciliation Committee is organizing an art workshop for all ages next Sunday, November 9th at 11:30 following the service. It will be a hands-on activity led by our commissioned artist, Jasmine Bates. She will discuss her process, research, and plans for her piece, tentatively titled Pain Speaks to Power, that will be installed in the neighborhood house in the spring. Be prepared to get a little messy as we create molds of our fists in clay and for the little ones Play-Doh. Your molds will be included in the final art piece. Consider your participation an act of individual resistance as you help the Truth and Reconciliation Committee remind us, through art, of the dangers of eugenics and the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We hope to see you next Sunday. Thanks.
Our order of service this morning is available as a link in the Sunday email and online by scanning the QR code on the back of your hymnal with your phone camera. Again, welcome to Neighborhood Church, an inclusive faith community connected by love, spirit, and service.
We gather this morning in the spirit of sacred ritual to explore the spiritual meaning of slowing down just a little bit, of intentional movement, both spiritual and physical. Today we explore the Labyrinth as a form of pilgrimage, a body prayer that is as much a meditation as it is a form of communion. Writes Margot Adler, the purpose of ritual is to wake up the old mind, to put it to work, the only ones inside us, the collective unconscious, the many lives, the many different eternal parts, the senses, and the parts of the brain that have been ignored. Those are the parts that don't speak English. Those are the parts that don't care about television, but they do understand candlelight and colors. They do understand nature. So come, let us gather in worship together today, gathering the Spirit, harvesting the power. Our separate lives kindle this one flame. I invite you to witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. With community, intention, and with our whole selves, our mind, body, and spirit, we light this chalice this morning. I invite you into a moment of centering as we gather ourselves today. There is a beautiful energy here this morning. Let us not lose that, but let us find ourselves in this place together. I'll read a few lines to you, and then we'll gather in a moment of shared silence. Annie Dillard writes the following: "What then shall I do this morning? How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. What we do with this hour and that one is what we're doing."
Ask that you please refrain from applause after the anthems. For now, please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit.
Sing.
So we're getting ready for our time for all ages, when we invite all of the children, youth, and those young at heart who'd like to come forward. We're going to be doing an activity. So go ahead and come on up, those of you who want to join us. And as you're gathering up here, we do have the results of the voting for the Great Jack-O-Lantern Contest of 2025. Now, I know some of you all voted, right, kiddos? Do you remember voting last week? Did you vote for the pumpkins? So our staff, if you weren't here last week, our staff created jack-o'-lanterns, and we put them all up here, and we invited all the kids, youth, and young at heart, and many of you to vote for your favorites. And we actually had a first and a second place that were so close in the votes that we're going to honor both of them. So if you could pull up the slide, there should be a slide with the pictures of the winning jack-o'-lanterns. Yeah. Yes! That's what I'm saying. Now, in an unusual, so I did not know who made which one, because we all made them at different times. And so I found out afterwards something really cool, that the winners of the jack-o'-lantern carving are our director of Lifespan Faith Engagement and our assistant to the director of Lifespan Faith Engagement. So congratulations to Elle. Elle, you made the beautiful butterfly. Yes. And Hannah made, I've been calling it Dracula kitten, but maybe that's not what you, it's just a cat. It's a Dracula cat. I feel really good about it. So thank you both so much. We love your art and your expression, and we love that you're involved with our kiddos in that way too. Very cool. So congratulations. They each got, this week earlier we had a staff retreat, and they each got a little gift on behalf of the rest of the staff.
Awesome. It was really fun carving pumpkins. I haven't intentionally carved a pumpkin in a few years, so it was fun. The challenge was fun. So today in service, we're going to be talking about labyrinths. And you might have heard about labyrinths before, but I'm kind of curious if you know what the difference between a labyrinth and a maze is. So a maze has dead ends, and a labyrinth has a start and finish. Yeah. So it. As usual, the wisdom of children. So with a labyrinth, you don't have to think about which way you're going. You are walking into the labyrinth, and you go all the way in, and then you walk all the way out. And with a maze, yes, Eli has a labyrinth with him right now. With a maze, you're thinking strategically, and so your brain is kind of on, and you're thinking, like, which way am I gonna go? And you might hit a dead end. And so with a labyrinth, we can kind of turn off our strategic brains, if we can, and then we can use it to meditate, but to move while we're meditating. So I have several different labyrinths for us today. If you want to, we can pass these. So what we're going to do is we use our finger, and we start on the outside. And I believe there are actually some labyrinths around too. That's part of the service later, but if you want to follow along too. So the idea is to do it slowly. We kind of move our finger slowly, and you don't have to think about where you're going. You just move your finger slowly and take some breaths. And then once you get to the center, You can move your fingers slowly all the way back to the outside. Sometimes it can be really hard to quiet our brains, and so if we can do something while we are contemplating, like moving our fingers, or you might have noticed, have any of our kids walked the Labyrinth? That's outside, yeah? So that's also a labyrinth, but we would move our whole bodies around that. Yeah, you figured it out even though it was hard. That's awesome. So in just a second, we're gonna go to class. And I feel like I had something else to say. Just if there are any kids who are ages 4 and up who haven't visited us before or haven't been registered, then I have a visitor form. So if the parents could come with the kids, that would be wonderful. We're ready to sing the kids out.
Each Sunday, our congregation dedicates 100% of its contributions to 501c3 organizations or neighborhood church-based social justice activities that are making a difference in our community and in our world. You can donate in one of 2 ways. You can use your cell phone to donate by texting the number on the screen, or if you'd prefer to donate in person, you can put your donation in one of the designated boxes during the music or after the service. There is a donation box here in the front, behind the back center row, and in the narthex entryway on the table. You may rise during the music to put your donation in the box if you wish. Please extend help to those in your neighborhood who may need assistance reaching the donation boxes. If you wish to make a payment toward your pledge or contribute to church operations, please make a note in the subject line or use an envelope available at the donation boxes. This week, our gifts will support ACAC. Here with more information is Farrell Menon.
Good morning. I think all of you probably know something about ACAC, but this is the neighborhood church group that has been together for more than 20 years with the goal of helping foster children. We adopt 2 social workers in the Department of Children and Family Services, that's the child welfare organization for Los Angeles County, to help them out with children in their caseloads. Our next event is the Christmas event, where you get a chance to buy Christmas presents for one of their children, their kids. I'm not going to tell you very much more because we're very lucky. One of our social workers, Lisa Holmes, is here to join us and tell us about what our work means to them. And I learned a really interesting thing as I was getting ready this morning. She is actually the supervisor for Taylor, who is a social work student at Cal State LA. So we have this really exciting, I thought that was, and I'm a social worker too. So Lisa, this is Lisa Holmes. Would you come up here and tell us about how ACAC helps you out?
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Lisa Holmes. I am a social worker with DCFS. I'm in the Brand office, which is over in Glendale. We used to be in Pasadena, and I am fortunate enough to be adopted by Neighborhood Church through ACAC. To be honest, it was really difficult to condense how helpful this program has been for not just myself as a social worker, but for the families that I work with. I just wanted to share some examples of how your generosity and donations have helped the children that on my caseload. One being, so I had a family, 5 minor children in a home. Parents were very low income, and we had major concerns about the children's basic needs being met. The home was in disarray, 17 cats in the home. We had to help them remove multiple cats. And the children, they were sleeping on tattered, dirty mattresses on the floor, and it was just very unhygienic, cat urine everywhere, and it was really concerning. The goal is to always prevent removal as much as possible, so how can we put things in place to support the families to prevent out-of-home care? As we know, children being removed from parents, it's traumatic, and that's like the last resort, right? So luckily I reached out. At the time Janice was working with us, and I reached out and I showed her some pictures of the living situation, and she really just jumped on it. Basically, for 3 of the teenage girls, you guys were able to provide a twin bunk bed and an individual bed, mattresses, bedding, and pillows. And it was all sent directly to the home, but just that was never received by the family before. And I think it ignited something in the parents, because what they did was they sent me pictures throughout the weekend of them fixing the floors in the girls' room. They got to pick the colors of the walls, so they painted the walls purple, and they just totally renovated the girls' room because they had these new items that they wanted to upkeep. Afterwards, I met with the girls in their room, and they were so excited to just show me where they were sleeping, and again, just their new decorations and just the improved living situation. And ultimately, I think, again, that generosity, we were able to close the case, and the parents showed a lot of transformation, not just through the services, but through the support of providing much needed items that they couldn't originally afford. Again, that's just one small example. You guys have helped me in emergency situations, as well as, like what Farrell mentioned, these ongoing annual events. So the back to school event, I had 2 kiddos, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, participate, and their caregiver, who is their grandmother, shared with me that was the first time they ever went shopping for themselves and ever had a shopping spree experience. When I walked the floors, I was able to see them with their volunteers picking their items, and they were super excited. And at the end, they showed off what they had purchased to me, and they had their Spider-Man t-shirt, Minecraft clothing, and again, just allowing them that autonomy to be able to pick what they want, have ownership of their own stuff, and to come to school with new clothing and feeling confident. At the end, I was driving home, and the grandmother called me, and she asked me for Neighborhood Church's address so she could send a thank you note, just as a small way to show her appreciation for for hosting the event, but for allowing the boys to participate. So I don't know if that letter ever got to you, but I'm here expressing her thanks. But yeah, again, just 2 small stories of how your generosity has impacted the families I work with, and also has supported me as a social worker. It can be really hard, but it's nice to know that I'm supported and our families are supported, and you guys are ultimately aiding the department in our goal of child safety and well-being, and I just want to express my thanks.
Thank you for giving generously.
We have two short readings for today. The first is from Lauren Artress, and she writes, "The labyrinth is an archetypal pattern. The circle is a universal form found in every culture around the world. It communicates unity and wholeness. Contained within this circle is a complex spiral that, as you walk it, takes you deeper into your center. The literal becomes figurative, and the figurative becomes literal. The literal path of the labyrinth, whether it be paint applied to canvas, terrazzo stone inlaid in a wood floor, or rocks laid out on dirt, becomes the path of life. Over time, you can develop a sense of relationship with that labyrinth. It becomes a trustworthy friend. For those of us who have been betrayed and sometimes mistrust people, the fact that it is a physical symbol and not a living person can be a comforting feature as well. As Keith Critchlow, professor of Islamic studies at the Royal Academy in London, says, not only are the exact cosmic rhythms built into it, but as well the other sacred measures that represent our relationship to the journey back to our spiritual wholeness. And our second reading from Isaiah 30:21. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." You're never lost in a labyrinth, writes historian John Kraft in The Walls of Troy, where he outlines labyrinth use over 3,000 years. You're never lost in a labyrinth. Now, I'm going to tell you, there was a point yesterday evening when I thought about really leaning into the metaphor of innings 9 through 11. And whether or not it was like a labyrinth for those of you who watched that part. And actually, I think that game was a maze. There were many dead ends. There were many challenges. We had some points where we had to turn around, seek a new opening. That is not like a labyrinth. So it didn't work, so I stopped. But I thought about it. In John Kraft's extensive survey, he tours on paper the world's known labyrinth sites. He outlines how the various forms of labyrinths have been created by humans, quite literally spanning the globe for literally thousands of years. Labyrinths found in stone paths, overtaken by weeds and layers of dirt. Labyrinths made out of turf itself in northern Europe. Labyrinths made of cut stone in Syria and Greece. Finger labyrinths that have been found in Japan, designs embedded in floors in India, the gardens and villas of France, the mosaics and tiles of great houses of worship, gathering spaces, and meditation areas all over the world. Shards of ancient pottery depict the serpentine angles and curves, jewelry and clothing items showing these repeated motifs, coils, and regular patterns of labyrinthian paths. They have adorned clothing, jewelry, religious and secular alike, throughout time. Even prominent signatures of some people have borrowed flourishes taken from well-known and well-trod meditative paths. In short, no matter where in the world you find yourself, there's likely a labyrinth close by. A pattern to walk or a pattern to trace with your fingers that links you here in this, your present moment, to our ancient ancestors and the great spirits that connect us all. You're never lost in a labyrinth, no matter where or when you are. Humans, young and old and religious or spiritual, but not so religious, meditatively or solace seeking, we have embraced following a labyrinth's path for ages. And we often use the terminology to walk the labyrinth, but in truth, we have rolled the labyrinth, we have crawled the labyrinth, we have traced it in stone and on ceramics, we have painted the labyrinth. All of these methods and more, these are all perfectly normal, accepted, meaningful ways to approach the intentionality of the labyrinth. Some go alone, others in a group. Some go in silence, others go to the sound of bells or music. There is a time and a place for dancing, just as there is a time and a place for going on the labyrinth barefoot or with shoes. I use the expression to walk the labyrinth today several times, but I acknowledge that at times my own movement has been more metaphorical than physical. At times I have cried the labyrinth, while at others I have only dreamt about doing it with my eyes wide open. There are as many ways to walk the labyrinth as there are types of labyrinths to walk. Two of the most well-known forms are on the printout. Actually, some of you have on your paper. There is one on the front and one on the back. The two most well-known forms are the medieval 11th Circuit labyrinth. This is found in the Chartres Cathedral in France. This was constructed about 1,200 years ago. In about the year 1200 of the Common Era. And the other is called a seed labyrinth. For those of you who are looking on the piece of paper, the Chartres labyrinth is the one with circles and 11 circuits. The classic labyrinth is called a seed labyrinth because if you take a look at it, it is formed in the middle by a series of crosses with small dots from which that labyrinth is drawn. The medieval Chartres labyrinth has a series of special features, so the one with 11 coils. For example, it has in the center a rosette with petals. This is unique to this style of labyrinth. 6 is a sacred number. It is associated with both Aphrodite and the Virgin Mary. It symbolizes rebirth, amongst other things. You can do a special sort of meditation in each of those 6 petals, if that's something that you want to do, in addition to walking the lunations, which are the small curves around the outside. Now, the classical seed labyrinth, which is on the other side in 2 colors, begins with that center cross and often has 7 circuits, although that number can vary, as all forms of labyrinths can vary. And what is special about this kind of labyrinth is it is either left or right-handed, depending on which way you turn when you enter. There are variations, of course, on all of these. Some of our children and youth today traced some that look like leaves. We make labyrinths that look more pointed, angular, or more circular. While there are so many variations, most labyrinth patterns are a series of circuits where the walkers enter one point. They travel the course of turns and curves, and they end in a center point. Now, some labyrinths have a separate path out, but others require that you travel the same path out from the center that you traveled in. In most cases, the path is narrow on purpose to encourage mindfulness. Although variations such as the labyrinth we have here on our patio are made especially wide for accessibility, they have wider paths for ease of movement. Now, some of you may have traced one of these labyrinths when we had our Time for All Ages a few minutes ago. And maybe you found that your eyes started to cross and it was a little hard to follow that line through there. I know that that is my experience with that. What a metaphor that is for our spiritual lives. Labyrinths have been said to look like the human brain in their curves and folds, or entrails, or the woman's womb, or any other number of patterns that are so recognizable to us, they're so iconic, archetypal to us humans, that they seem to trigger a primeval connection to it when we see it. I'm always struck by the fact that no matter how familiar with a labyrinth I am, when I arrive to walk it and I look out upon it, when I look at it from that entrance point, I can't tell how the path will go. Even if I am deeply familiar with that labyrinth. I can't exactly predict, and there's always a moment on the labyrinth when I think, did I mess up? Am I going to get there? Because I thought I was almost to the center, and now I'm on the back outside corner once again. I can't predict how many times I've walked it, where the path will carry me. I just know that I won't get lost if I follow it. A labyrinth is not a maze. You can't get lost. As Lauren Artress, who is a labyrinth facilitator and writer, she writes, a maze is designed to make you lose your way, and a labyrinth is designed to help you find your way. Mazes are meant to be a game and to challenge you to find your way out, like a Dodgers game, innings 7 through 11. A labyrinth is meant for you to focus on the journey itself. I never know exactly what my labyrinth experience will hold for me, even if I enter with a certain intention. Perhaps I enter with a question. Perhaps that day I'm needing something in particular. I'm seeking to meditate, or I'm looking for a space to quiet my mind. I'm looking for something to remind my soul that my spirit is attached to this here physical body. Sometimes I go with intention and I wind up learning a lesson completely different. And that is the beauty of the experience of traveling the labyrinth. I never really know what will come into my consciousness or into my spirit when I walk the labyrinth, what will be the lesson for the day. And more often than not, for me, tears come to my eyes in that experience. And many times I leave after that experience with more questions than I have answers. My practice is to write those questions down. Those mean something. It's something I'm working on. And frequently, almost always, the learning continues long after I've left the path. Days or weeks or even longer after I've returned home. Lauren Artress defines 4 stages that are present when we're following the path of the labyrinth. And the first 3 are roughly associated with Teresa de Avila's journey to God. And she uses the metaphor of going through a castle as if it were a labyrinth. Artress describes the 4 stages this way, as the first being remembering, which is the via positiva, the preparation stage. The releasing, the via negativa, or the emptying phase, where we get rid of our expectation. The receiving, or the via creativa stage. This is being receptive to the lessons, the divine, the sacred, or the spirit, what is teaching us in that moment. And then a final stage of resolution, or the via transformativa, in which one integrates the learnings of the experience, and that can take the rest of our lives. Now, this reminds me of the experience of being on a pilgrimage and how it takes years or maybe the rest of our lives to integrate those learnings. As many of you know, I completed the Camino de Santiago almost a decade ago at this point, and I still have discoveries about that experience. As Cheryl Kujawa shares in her book, Pilgrimage, The Sacred Art, there are 3 major phases of a pilgrimage. They are separation, transition, and incorporation. These are not that different from the classical theology of the labyrinth, the emptying, the inspiration, and the resolution. For me, the experience of a pilgrimage was like an extended labyrinth, both in its physical nature and its spiritual lessons. First, the path was marked on the pilgrimage. I, unlike my medieval predecessors, didn't need a map. On a path as well-trod as the Camino de Santiago, it's hard to get lost. Kindly caretakers who have gone before me have marked the path with the blue and yellow biera, or scallop shell, or arrows, pointing in the direction if there's a turn, or pointing straight ahead to keep going. That scallop shell, itself a symbol of the Camino, has many neat meanings. It points towards the coast of Galicia, where Santiago is, and Finisterra or Fisterra, the end of the walk, the end of the earth. Now, during my walk, if I ever became so engrossed in my thoughts, or so thoughtless or thoughtful in my wanderings as to lose track, all I had to do is look up and follow the well-marked path. Through cities, through the countryside, there was no maze. There was no game. It's not an attempt to lose or confuse the person who walks it. There's also a lesson in simplicity, in having precisely what you need for both a pilgrimage and a labyrinth walk. In both, there is a saying that is common about the experience and how it provides for you. The Camino provides, that is an expression. The labyrinth gives you what is needed. Of course, it's meant to be metaphysical and spiritual, but it is also physical. I found both of those to be true. On the Camino, I lost the little end caps, covered the bottom of my walking poles. I lost them very early in the first couple of days. My poles had metal tips, and for several days, every time I walked, they clanked, clank, clank, clank. I developed a little bit of a rhythm, so that was, clankety, clank, clank, you do that. But I cringed just a little bit at that sound of metal on rock and pavement. And several days in, at a rest break, I was standing on the side of the path with my companion, and I remarked to her I had lost my tips several days before, and I wish I had some new ones, but we were out in the middle of nowhere, and I kid you not, within minutes, I looked down at the side of the path, and there were 2 plastic tips from someone else's poles sitting next to the path. I looked around. We were the only ones in sight. I took it as a gift, and I placed them on the end of my poles. Relief, sweet relief, and instead of a clack, I heard a gentle thud instead. This was a lesson in simplicity for me. It was a lesson in simple delights, in acknowledging what I needed. A lesson I continue to learn about being grateful for when I receive things, even if it comes in an unexpected way. Not unlike the turns of a labyrinth that lead me on a path, those turns that look confusing when I stand in those opening steps. The pilgrimage and the labyrinth share this characteristic of unforeseen lessons, spiritual awareness, and gratitude for the journey itself. And of course, this is no surprise. I'm not the first one to remark on a pilgrimage being like a labyrinth. Walkers of labyrinths have used the experience as a stand-in for the long journey, the journey to Mecca, the journey to Santiago de Compostela, the journey to Valhalla, the journey to the Holy Land. They have used this for thousands of years. It is an opportunity to leave the daily or mundane for just a few minutes or days or longer, to move with intention, opening oneself to what the journey provides. What would our lives be like? What would our lives be like if we treated every day as a pilgrimage? Like a labyrinth walk, an intentional movement with awareness and care, letting the surprise of self-discovery delight us unexpectedly. What if we treated every day like a methodical movement where we can't know what the day will bring, but we know we can't get lost? We can't get lost. Our body is free, our mind is free, our spirit is free to explore the in-between time, to enjoy the process, not just the outcome, to commune with our ancestors who did the same thing, to find joy in the body prayer of simple movement of hand or foot. Especially in times like these when it's so easy for us to be reactive. What would it be like to carve out a moment for starting where we're at? Moving forward with some care and intention, and deepening our spiritual selves, and making a ritual of our everyday lives. Writes Elizabeth Lesser, "Your path is your own, but you must walk side by side with others, with compassion and generosity as your beacons. If anything is required, it is this: fearlessness in your examination of life and death, willingness to continually grow, and openness to the possibility that the ordinary is extraordinary, and that your joys and your sorrows have meaning and mystery." May it be so.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 1010. We give thanks. We will sing it twice.
With love and care.
What is your life calling you to do? When all the meetings are adjourned and the lists laid aside, this is found in the Terma Collective. The lists are laid aside and the wild iris blooms by itself in the dark forest. What still pulls at your soul? In between your heartbeats hides a summons. Do you hear it? Name it if you must, or leave it forever nameless. But why pretend it's not there?